The United Nations defines IDPs as people seeking safety in other parts of their own country.
In Western Equatorial
Conflicts
States
scattered across the region. Nigeria currently hosts over 80,000 refugees, most of them women and children.
Forced from their homes, millions of people around the world have fled their communities for safety, as their properties and sources of livelihood were either destroyed or looted by the militant group Boko Haram, the Hausa Fulani headsmen, or natural disasters.
My name is Victoria Luxton. I'm from Borno State, Boza local government, 2010. That's when Boko Haram now entered inside Poka.
My name is Elia Tupo. I come from Chibok local government. One day they enter in the evening like this around 6. Everybody started run, they enter, they come, they hide. So from there, the people they are catching, they will kill.
My name is Mariam Mohammed. I come from Borno, Maiduguri State, Dompoala Korgama. Na Boko Haram, na for sure come out. The time they for sure, we no carry anything. Only our life now we don't support, so we come out to our children.
My name is Sarah Pius. I came from Kaduna State. What I experienced is not the Boko Haram, it's the Fulanis. You can't go to farm. I can remember whenever I want to go to farm, the women has to be like 5, 6. If not, before you know, the next day go, you see dead body. They have cut person head
That day. So we now enter the Clam Mountain. That's where we stay with some, me and my mother-in-law, with some neighbor women. They used to sneak to enter our compound to carry some food for us.
So from there, the people they are catching, they will kill. The one don't expect to go wrong. From there, we go wrong. Enter the come, expect go another side. We go the hide for bush.
The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees has determined that the global number of people experiencing forced displacement reached over 100 million by mid-2022. Nigeria had over 3 million individuals who were internally displaced, compelled to leave their residencies in the northeastern region as a result of prolonged insurgency and conflict as of June 2022. The Refugee Agency added that more than 85,000 refugees and asylum seekers reside in Nigeria.
My mother-in-law with some women, they used to sneak to enter our compound to carry some food for us. So one day that my mother-in-law now entered, she carried the food, she went to the engine to grind it. So one of the Boko Haram now came, say, who is she? Is she Arnie? And I said, the engine man now answered, say, no, she's a Muslim. Before we now discuss, okay, we should walk to Cameroon. So we're on our way to Cameroon. After 1 day, 2 days, one of our neighbor friend like this, she was backing her baby. So now the baby now died. That's when she removed the baby, nothing we can do. She now threw the baby inside the bush. That's when we entered Cameroon. When we entered Cameroon, like 3 days before we entered Cameroon, then the government now take charge of us. They give us house where we stay.
The youth, some go out like Abuja, Lagos to find security work. Some maybe those that have finished school, they find one thing or the other to do. When you go there, like the way my sister said, when you go there, you get security work, you are ready, you carry your family, you go.
Any village we see they near, we go enter, we go beg them, anything they get, they will give or help us, give us. We will help us every time through there with the for manage, with the manage. Then my husband come see chance, come Lagos. From there, we will go stay there. If the thing don't come down small, we go enter the village. If any day we hear say they won't come, we hear the information, we go run, leave the village.
Before we come outside for village, my husband, he there for Lagos. So now I to say, more fine play for now. We don't come from Gombe State. We sit down there. I just say, while I did too much, 9 money for us. I get children, 4 children that time. So we don't come for Lagos.
For some of them, it meant a lifelong separation from their families, as they may have lost either their parents, husbands, wives, or children as they scamper for safety, while for some, it was the end of their career and academics.
By then, I don't even know where my husband is. It's when we get to the Cameroon, after like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, when my father-in-law now came to Cameroon with some men. Before they now get the information that my husband was in Mubi, that is Adamawa State. So from there, my husband now moved to Lagos. So then 2013, they now sent money to me, then I now came to Lagos.
Before that incident happened, I have only one baby. Before me, it was my husband that first come here before I moved and joined him.
You know, say on Sunday, they don't know, say, Christian, no, they go farm. So around 9, they don't know, say, not time for service. So they go enter. They attack them. All the members for law choosing, they are still there. One by one, even small people, they don't live there. All they kill them. From there, now I go explain for my husband and say, okay, my go to find money, my send for me. I carry my son, my come out. Now, so go and give me money. I'll go find way, come Lagos.
So here in Lagos, when I came, I knew life was difficult because it wasn't the way I expect to even eat. Now, wahala. So by then we are managing. Where we stay is in Aboki, say like ghetto. It's ghetto where we stay by then, Bako. So sometimes, even when we are sleeping at night, the area by now come, start knocking and banging at the door. If I came out, what is it? Bring money for environmental, bring monthly money, bring this one, allergy money, this one. We say, like if you do not have the money, like sometimes they request like 500, 300, 1,000, like monthly money is 1,000. So if you don't have the money, they will not demolish your house. They will scatter the house. They will not bring their house down. So that's the science that I haven't by then.
So the manager would there for Paco house. The manager. Where them for sure for that play now you don't come from the Lakey side. So now I sit down for Lagos to my children. Money no day. Now we don't carry the children go for Kano. Now then they for school for Kano. So now they manage for this, so if you are seeing money, I they sign up for them.
It wasn't easy. We start from that gate to that Spako. Because the day where I come, it was funny. I've never seen people living in Pako before. I was like, is it this house? Even in village, we use block to build for goats and even our farm. But how can human being? I was like, why is this company that we staying? It wasn't easy. In fact, I was like, if rain fall like this, you don't get to now. You'll be seeing all this dirty water, dirty things, and it wasn't easy. My baby, I have to be carrying her before she go and match water and do this. That's how it wasn't easy.
From there, they sell granite. I go sell gari, sugar oil, crayfish, pepper. Then October, and house I come. They come scatter the shop. They say they don't need Paco shop. They come demolish everything. I can't stay. I can't get 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls. I can't stay every day. I can't think. I want to share jam, I want to cry. Say, which kind of life is this now? My mother is stressed. She go inside the program for the road. I got them. My husband said, I don't go travel. I don't say me travel. If I die, I say we do it. I go travel, go again. I go come back. I wait my mother come. The time I come back, I did go scatter the shop. I want the time of the say, "May return back." He said no, and we can children go back Hamaj side. I got the man when I say, "The scatter the shop, nothing to do."
Everything, all our clothes for our body, everything will leave our dance for there. We not come with anything for outside.
We lost everything because we could not carry anything. My husband's car, our house, even our property, like food store. We used to have store where we store like guinea corn, maize, granules. So we lost everything.
Before, because I was doing well, that my hairdresser, something was giving me a lot of money. I was making money fast. It reached a stage that I doesn't go to farm. I'll pay money for people to help me do my farm work. From that, my business that I was doing. But here, the time that I will come here, it wasn't easy. My husband was managing.
What next? How will they survive in a new community after losing everything? Food, shelter, and health are the basic needs of these people, and every single day they depend on humanitarian assistance to meet these needs. SESOR Africa is a disaster relief agency working to help survivors of disasters, especially internally displaced persons and refugees, survive and thrive.
SESOR was established in 2010. And we established it as a family affair initially. What had happened was that my grandmother in the village was displaced as a result of a conflict. And it was just basically the neighboring village fighting with our village over maybe land or whatever it was, we don't even know. And I think it was in 2009, so they'd come in very late at night and burnt our family house. So she ran out. She was in her 90s, but very strong, you know, people of those days. So we established SESOR when we went and took relief materials to the villagers, some of my family members and others who had also been affected. And that's just how SESOR started. And that's what it's about, really, helping displaced people to survive and to help them get back on their feet.
In my course of service with SESOR Foundation, we do relief items where we give food and non-food items to over 100 IDPs and their families. And then we do medical outreaches for them in terms of taking care of their health. We equally support their children in terms of getting them back to school, knowing fully well that most of them, out of their traumatic situation that occurred to them, they are not able to go back to school. So we do a whole lot of getting their kids back to school for them. And then we have a very safe space where they come in and relax, and then even have some other time to learn one or two things from us. And so in getting the IDPs, internally displaced persons, we go to different chats, settlements, and some other core areas, you know, that are very disturbing, let me put it that way, and source for these people with help of information of people around. We go as a team to talk to them about their situation, to get to know why and how they came to Lagos, because most of them are from the Northeast. And then from there, we sensitize them by giving them hope first, talking to them about what has happened, how they can get over it, and how we can equally support and give them life again.
My state, that's where they born me, so I don't live there for long. But as I enter Lagos, I think I'm like 7 years now.
Don't do Lagos 9 years now.
When I came to Lagos, I told my husband I can't stay like that. I want to learn work. That's when I decided to go and learn tailor work. So I was be able to get one machine that I was managing patching at home. When she now introduced me to SESOR, I started going to SESOR. They started giving us clothes, food, all those stuff. So one day there's a program that they host, like medical checkup for SESOR. A doctor woman came that day. So they do everything, after everything. They now interview me, as in to tell story how they interview me that very day. The woman said, okay, what am I doing? When I do that, I may tell her about managing our food, see how sad the things be. She knows, okay, I should know what. So through SESOR, I got one machine, brand new.
And not the only money be help, because even when they will share clothes, they share food. If they give you, they say they know we give you what you go use go, they will put onions, Maggi, everything they will use, put it for us. So of that one, part of help.
So thank God for SESOR, then they help us. I collect long 2 times.
The support I get from SESOR really helped me, because by then I was not doing anything. It's one of my neighbors now introduced me to the SESOR. So when the SESOR now support me, then I use it to start business. So it really helped me.
So SESOR has really helped.
Basically, displaced people are people who are forced to flee their homes because of conflict or because of a natural disaster, or sometimes even government action. So for example, a government comes in and they need a piece of land, or they have sold a piece of land that belongs to, or whatever, to a development company, and they may involve to a mass demolition. So we saw that, for example, in Lagos, in Otodogbame, a few years ago, for example. That's in the Lekki area. So that can also happen, and that happens around the world very, very often. So someone who's displaced is someone who's forced to flee in such situations. Now, if they flee across an international border, they're a refugee, as the UN defines it. And then if they flee and stay within their country, they're an internally displaced person, but both are displaced peoples anyway. So the easiest way we found to explain to people in Nigeria, when we tell people this person is an internal refugee, or we say they're a refugee within their own country, they immediately get it. Now, in terms of how we sensitize and we've been able to raise awareness on what that is, it's been a long process. We started really amplifying the work in 2013. And at that time, when we told people they were refugees within Nigeria, who were Nigerians and who were displaced by a Nigerian conflict, they would say, no, that's not true. In that time in Boko Haram, I remember someone fighting with me because I said we were living in denial and we were ostriching on a radio program, and he called in very upset. But over time, of course, the events have borne us out, but also we have been able to sensitize more and more people. We get people in programs where we can talk about displaced people, going on radio, going on TV, and even taking people out into the settlements and different places where the displaced live in these communities. It also helps to tell the story. We've held outreaches in at least, I think, 7 states, including the FCT in Nigeria. For now, we're focusing on Lagos State and Benue State. The reason we've chosen to focus on those 2 states is because they're the most underserved of the states. So if one looks at even the official statistics of people who are displaced in Nigeria, they typically focus on the northeast, some now on the northwest. But one of the things it fails to account for is conflict that has spread down towards the Middle Belt, and then for those who have fled, some who have fled to cities like Lagos, where you have Lagos now bearing the brunt of some of that. So in total, I would say we've supported over 10,000 families or more, because you go to these camps and you take enough food. You know, sometimes in a camp, you can even have 100,000 people there. It depends. Of course, we don't take food for 100,000 unless you have trucks and trucks. But we've definitely done over 10,000.
SESOR Africa organized an event to celebrate mothers who are internally displaced on Mother's Day, the 27th of March, 2022.
Today, we're having Mother's Day, celebrating mothers, women, over 100 of them at today's event. We call it Mother's Day. This is a time where I want to give them the best, making them to belong, feel them belong. They work, they thrive, they try to survive both their children, husband, and give them the best. Even though they left all their states through various disasters, but for them to be here in Lagos and to survive their families. They've done so much. So we want to give them the best, presenting a certificate to them. They have attended trainings on business literacy training, on how to manage their business, how to promote their business, how to better package their business so that they can make more profit and survive their family better.
I feel excited. I thank God how SESOR recognized us today and celebrate us today with the women of SESOR.
I just want to say I benefit much what I can. I can't say it and I can't speak it. I'm very happy for that.
Wallahi yayi kyau. Allah sa mu so su albarka mun gode. I don't sell fast market. Soap wa dey sell. Na ya put up for inside my market. Na sa cikin kasuwa na yayi mina albarka yayi mina amfani.
Today's event is an amazing event that I've never had in a while.
They have been giving me money about 3 times now, and I benefit from the money.
Na gode kware kudin da suka bani ya mina albarka ya mina amfani.
The business ina kiso. I do hair. Sometimes kuma I used to sell provision. I sell children's shoe. I add it together to sell my market.
You don't better fine. Why?
I'm selling provision. So I'm using the money to be doing my business, and I thank God now my business is okay.
More than just food and shelter, internally displaced persons need a source of livelihood and access to greater economic opportunities, but they face a lot of discrimination.
The ways we saw people being discriminated against who had fled down south, one of the first things we noticed where they live, because there are no camps in a place like Lagos, there are no camps for them, because camps are usually set up by the government, right? So Lagos State did not have camps for them. So they were forced, of course, to find accommodation in slums, areas, and so they live among other people who may be here, who may be the real economic migrants, or people who are, quote unquote, sons and daughters of the soil, who are down on their luck and are literally homeless. So they're living in these shanties and all over the place, but especially in Lekki and that Lekki corridor. And so I remember one of the women reporting to me that one day she had a disagreement with a woman in the area over water, things like that. Then I said, Boko Haram, go back to your place, So they hear these hurtful things, which are quite hurtful for them. Another time, a government agency actually threatened us and a particular church that we're working with some of the displaced with that they might arrest us because we were helping these people, and some of them might be harboring terrorists who had come from the northeast. This was a government agency, so you had these things, and they were like, oh, you should have reported them to us and all that. And one of the things we challenged them on, and that's one way to curb the spread, is you as government, you need to be proactive and inform people what to do if they find people who are displaced in their area. But you cannot do it from a perspective of where these are terrorists. You have to give us clear directions for people who are working with to help, to say, okay, maybe there's a process for registration so we know who they are, and stuff. That question always used to come up as well from donors and other individuals who were concerned about how you sure that they're safe people to help.
The disclosure I get from them is that sometimes they ask you, where are you from? They know that you are from North, especially if you are from Borno State. They used to call us Boko Haram.
They look at you as if you are not human being. Even like my children, look at all these are broken, look at them. There's an Igbo man that normally insult my children, say, upon the bath where your mommy they bath you 3 times, morning, afternoon, you see, ugly, fine, not fine. Should be insulting them that are broken, they come from the north, they be this and that.
Apart from the discrimination experiences, the women spoke about their daily struggles in their various camps.
My call for governments, for individuals, is to stop the stigmatization. It can happen to anybody, 1. 2, the government does need to provide support. We're seeing very little care available to people who go through these trauma events. So forget mental health, we're not even seeing the physical first aid, but there's a whole plethora of services that are needed that are not fully being provided. And a lot of the time it's left to the NGOs like ours to provide, and we don't have those resources, but the government can and do have the resources if they work with the right partners. So we would call on the government to do their jobs and really go into those communities and really maybe have a database, work with those camps and provide that, and not just depend on development partners or NGOs alone to provide the help that they need. I think we're in for a bumpy ride because right now we're not decisively addressing our security challenges. So we're likely to see more conflict, more terror for a little while. We're likely to see an increase in the number of people displaced. We hope that the government will take a more proactive stance. One of the things we're urging, one of the things we were advocating earlier was for communities themselves to educate themselves and have what we call early warning systems. So if there's an imminent attack, and so on and so forth. So we see what's happening in Southern Kaduna. There's a lot of displacement, but the stories are not being told. So they have just increased hundreds of people being displaced on an almost daily basis by attacks, but because the media is not really covering it, and truth is people are tired of hearing bad news, but unfortunately what that means is if it's not addressed, it just keeps spreading. So I do not think in the short run there's much good news. We hope that a new government come 2023 will be able to be more decisive in how they address it, because right now we've gotten very comfortable with the idea of people in IDP camps. It's really talked about anymore. In a state like Benue, it's just the norm now. Benue even claims they have about 1.5 million people who are displaced. And talking to our partners on the ground, that is actually very close, if not even a bit more. And what we're seeing is now the terrorists are getting even more bold. They're even going to the IDP camps to attack even further, so we still have a bumpy ride ahead of us. I think it's just for us to keep up with the work, keep advocating, keep pushing, and just really, do our part and hope for the best. Really, that's what I think will happen. So I think one of the things that they can do is we have a whole range of programs that we do every month to just support them, provide psychosocial support, and just provide a sense of community outside of those slums that they live in. So they can always support our programs. We have our website, sesorafrica.org. We're launching a campaign called the Angel Campaign, where we're asking people to donate to us on a regular basis. So details of that will go up on the website very soon. So that's one way. I think individuals can also talk to, if you work with a company or you have a company, you can also talk to your companies to support SESOR and entities like ours working with displaced people. Media outlets can tell the story some more. We've had some who've done a great job in doing that. It's just to keep telling the stories. There are stories of hope too. As we see, even in the displacement, people are finding love, people are getting married, people are having children, people are getting new jobs, people are getting homes and houses. We're seeing their children go to school and grow and get jobs and all that. So it's not all doom and gloom. We're seeing amazing things that they're also doing with their lives. I think for government, of course, the big thing is housing. How do you house a displaced population? I think that wasn't taken seriously at first because people thought, oh, they'll be able to go back home in a few months. Even the displaced people, they didn't expect to be displaced for this long, So for the government, on the one side, there's the need to provide housing, sustainable housing for them. In a place like Lagos, that's tough because land is scarce and it's expensive. But there's so much more we can do. We can look at maybe farming programs where you have those farm settlements that we can set up and we can get people out there because they farm anyway. That's what a lot of people do. And even within those communes or communities, they can do other things and they can form whole communities that are providing livelihoods and a living for people and have schools and stuff. But it takes, what we found is it takes serious political will. And the question is, does the government have it? So we hope that we will see more government actors really pushing for these things. Private sector is to continue to support, maybe to work with us and then with SESOR and other entities like ours to see how we can have longer term partnerships to give life to some of these ideas. Of course, one of the partners that we have, the Grooming Center, for example, has been absolutely amazing. In the last 7 years, or 6 years, I think, yeah, it's coming up to 7, we've funded constantly a whole number of women, now over 100, just with their livelihoods, helping to provide funding for their businesses, helping to provide funding for a support center that can help them, to just get the help that they need and get services that they need. So there's room for everybody. There's space for anyone to do anything. You can donate, you can partner, you can invest in those kinds of programs, that can do that. And we're also open to ideas. So
guaranteed security, durable support, and access to economic opportunities without discrimination will help better the lives of internally displaced persons. To support this cause, call 090-942-63601.